The massive ship called Eternal Dawn moved through the darkness of space like a silver giant. Inside its metal walls, thousands of aliens worked and lived. The ship belonged to the Valerian Empire, one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. The Valerians were tall, elegant creatures with pale blue skin and eyes that glowed softly in the dark. They ruled over many worlds and many species. Humans were not one of their favorite species. Jinho wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled through a narrow maintenance tunnel. He was 28 years old, thin and strong from years of physical work. His hands were rough and covered in oil. He wore the gray uniform that marked him as a contract worker, the lowest rank on the ship. Around his neck hung a small badge that would beep if he went somewhere he was not allowed to go. He had been working on the Eternal Dawn for 2 years now. The pay was good, better than anything he could get back on Earth. But the work was hard and the Valerians treated him like he was invisible. Most days that was fine with Jinho. He did his job, kept his head down, and saved his money. In 3 more years his contract would end. Then he could go home and start the small repair shop he had always dreamed about. The tunnel opened into a larger chamber filled with pipes and cables. Jinho pulled himself out and stood up, stretching his back. This was the power distribution center for the royal section of the ship. He was not supposed to be here alone, but the Valerian supervisor had not shown up. Typical. They gave him the dirty work but never bothered to supervise it properly. He pulled out his scanner and began checking the power readings. Everything looked normal at first. The numbers were all in the green zone, but something felt wrong. Jinho had been working with machines since he was a boy. His father had been a mechanic and his grandfather before that. He trusted his instincts about machinery more than he trusted most people. He moved deeper into the chamber, following a feeling he could not quite explain. Then he saw it. One of the main power conduits had a small device attached to it. The device was no bigger than his thumb, barely visible among all the cables and pipes. Jinho's heart began to beat faster. He took a picture with his scanner and examined it more closely. This was not ship equipment. Someone had put it there secretly. Jinho spent the next hour searching the chamber. He found 3 more devices, all carefully hidden. Each one was connected to critical systems that powered the royal section. He did not know exactly what they would do, but he knew they were dangerous. Someone was planning something terrible. He climbed out of the maintenance tunnel as fast as he could. His supervisor, a tall Valerian named Kireth, was finally at his station. Kireth looked annoyed that Jinho had disturbed him. "What is it, human?" Kireth did not even look up from his tablet. "Sir, I found something. There are devices attached to the power systems. I think they might be bombs or something similar." Jinho tried to keep his voice calm. Kireth finally looked at him. His glowing eyes narrowed. "You think? You are a maintenance worker, not a security expert. Did you complete your assigned work?" "Yes, but sir, these devices, if there was a real threat, our security systems would detect it. Human equipment is primitive. Perhaps you simply do not recognize our advanced technology." Kireth waved his hand dismissively. "Return to your quarters. Your shift is over." Jinho wanted to argue, but he knew it was useless. Valerians did not listen to humans. He was just a worker, and workers did not question their superiors. He left the chamber and walked through the ship's corridors, his mind racing. That night, Jinho could not sleep. He lay in his small cabin, staring at the ceiling. The pictures from his scanner were still on his tablet. He looked at them again and again. Those devices were definitely not normal ship equipment, but what could he do? If he pushed too hard, he might lose his job or worse. Then he remembered something. The Eternal Dawn was not just traveling through space. It was carrying Princess Nari, the daughter of the Valerian Queen. She was going to a diplomatic meeting on a distant world. The entire royal family was important, but Princess Nari was special. She was young, only 25 in Earth years, and she was known for being kind and intelligent. The people loved her. If something happened to her, it would be a disaster for the Empire. Jinho sat up in bed. He needed to know more. He started searching through the ship's public network, looking for any information about the royal section systems. Most of it was classified, blocked behind security walls he could not break through, but he found maintenance schedules, power consumption reports, and crew assignments. One thing caught his attention. In 3 days, there would be a royal banquet. Princess Nari would be hosting diplomats from several different species. The event would take place in the main hall of the royal section. According to the power consumption reports, the systems would be running at maximum capacity during the banquet. Lights, food preparation units, environmental controls, everything would be working at the same time. Jinho felt cold. If those devices activated during the banquet, when all systems were stressed, they could cause a catastrophic failure. The explosion could kill everyone in the royal section, including the princess. He tried to report it again the next day. He went to a different supervisor, then to a security officer. Each time he was dismissed. The Valerians were polite but firm. Humans were known for being paranoid, they said. The security systems were perfect. There was no threat. On the morning of the banquet, Jinho made his decision. He could not go through official channels. No one would listen to him. But he could not just do nothing while people died. He had to find a way to warn Princess Nari directly, even if it cost him everything. He put on his cleanest uniform and looked at himself in the mirror. He was just a human, just a worker. But today he would have to be more than that. Today he would have to be brave. The banquet would begin in 6 hours. Jinho did not know if he could reach the princess in time. He did not know if she would believe him even if he did. But he had to try. He stepped out of his cabin and began walking toward the royal section, toward a choice that would change his life forever. The corridors near the royal section were different from the rest of the ship. The walls were decorated with beautiful patterns that seemed to glow with their own light. Expensive artwork from a dozen different worlds hung in protected cases. Guards stood at every intersection, their armor polished to a mirror shine. They watched Jinho with cold eyes as he approached. He reached the first checkpoint and held up his identification badge. The guard, a massive Valerian with scars on his face, looked at the badge and then at Jinho with obvious disgust. Maintenance workers are not permitted in this section during the banquet. Turn around. The guard's hand rested on his weapon. I need to speak with someone in security. It's urgent. There's a threat to the princess. Jinho tried to sound confident, but his voice shook slightly. The guard laughed. It was not a kind sound. A threat? And you, a human maintenance worker, discovered this threat that all our systems missed? Leave now or I will arrest you for wasting my time. Jinho tried 3 more checkpoints. Each time the result was the same. The guards would not let him pass. Some were rude, others were merely dismissive, but none of them took him seriously. He was running out of time. The banquet would begin in less than an hour. He found a quiet corner and pulled out his tablet. There had to be another way. He looked at the ship's layout, studying every corridor and maintenance tunnel. Then he saw it. There was an old service passage that ran behind the royal section. It was supposed to be sealed off, but according to the maintenance records, the seal had been broken 3 months ago and never properly repaired. Jinho made his way to the service passage. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst from his chest. What he was about to do was illegal. If he was caught, he would be arrested, maybe even executed. Valerians took security very seriously, especially when it involved the royal family. The entrance to the passage was hidden behind a maintenance panel. Jinho used his tools to open it and slipped inside. The passage was dark and narrow, filled with pipes and cables. He had to crawl on his hands and knees in some places. Dust and old grease covered his uniform. He did not care. He kept moving forward. After 20 minutes of crawling, he reached a vent that looked into the royal section. Through the grate, he could see the main corridor. Guards were everywhere. He would never make it past them. But then he saw something that made him stop breathing. Princess Nari herself was walking down the corridor, surrounded by her personal guards. She was wearing a beautiful silver dress that seemed to float around her as she moved. Her blue skin glowed softly, and her long white hair was decorated with jewels. Jinho did not think. He just acted. He kicked the vent grate as hard as he could. It flew off and clattered to the floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the quiet corridor. Every guard spun toward him, weapons drawn. Jinho pulled himself out of the vent, his hands raised. Wait! Please, I need to warn the princess! He shouted. 6 guards rushed at him. They slammed him against the wall so hard that he saw stars. Weapons pressed against his head and chest. One guard's knee dug into his back, making it hard to breathe. Assassin! We have an assassin! Someone shouted. No, I'm not. I'm just a worker, please, and Jinho gasped. Silence. A guard hit him in the stomach. Jinho doubled over in pain. Stop. The voice was soft but carried absolute authority. Princess Nari was walking toward them. Her guards tried to hold her back, but she pushed past them. She looked at Jinho with curiosity in her glowing eyes. This man is wearing a worker's uniform. He is covered in dirt and grease. He does not look like an assassin to me. Your Highness, it could be a disguise, one guard protested. It could be, but I am curious why someone would go to so much trouble just to get my attention. She stepped closer to Jinho. Speak, human. You have 30 seconds before my guards take you away. Jinho looked into her eyes. He saw intelligence there and kindness and something else. She was actually willing to listen. He took a deep breath and spoke as quickly as he could. Your Highness, there are devices attached to the power systems in the royal section. I found them 3 days ago. I tried to report them, but no one would listen to me. I think they are bombs or sabotage devices. During the banquet, when all systems are running at full power, they will activate. It will cause an explosion. You will die. Everyone in the royal section will die. The guards began to protest, but Princess Nari held up her hand. She studied Jinho's face for a long moment. You are telling the truth, she said quietly. I can see it in your eyes. You truly believe what you are saying. I am telling the truth, Your Highness. Please, you have to evacuate. Cancel the banquet. Princess Nari turned to her head guard. Check the systems he mentioned now. But Your Highness, the banquet can wait. Do as I command. The guard spoke into his communication device. There was a tense silence. Then his face went pale. Your Highness, we are detecting anomalies in the power systems. Engineering is investigating now. At that moment, the lights flickered. A deep rumbling sound came from somewhere below them. The floor shook. Too late, Jinho whispered. It's starting. The explosion was not loud at first. It was more like a great tearing sound, as if the ship itself was being ripped apart. The floor tilted sharply to one side. People screamed. Guards shouted orders. Alarm systems began wailing throughout the ship. Princess Nari stumbled, and Jinho caught her without thinking. Another explosion rocked the corridor. The beautiful artwork shattered. Pieces of the ceiling began to fall. We need to evacuate the royal section immediately, the head guard shouted. He grabbed the princess's arm, trying to pull her toward the main corridor. No! Jinho pulled her in the opposite direction. That way leads to the power distribution center. The explosions are coming from there. We need to go around. I will not take orders from a human. The guard pulled harder. The ceiling collapsed where the main corridor had been. Flames and smoke poured through the opening. If they had gone that way, they would all be dead. The guard stared at the flames, then at Jinho. He made a decision. You know this ship. Get the princess to safety. Move, Jinho did not hesitate. He took Princess Nari's hand and ran. Behind them, guards followed, but the ship was falling apart around them. The explosions had done more damage than Jinho had feared. Whoever had planted those devices had known exactly where to place them for maximum destruction. They ran through corridors filled with smoke. Jinho led them through maintenance passages and service tunnels that the guards did not know existed. His knowledge of the ship's layout, learned through 2 years of boring repair work, was now saving their lives. They reached an intersection, and Jinho stopped. His scanner showed dangerous radiation levels ahead. They would have to find another route. But before he could speak, he heard a sound that made his blood run cold. Footsteps, and not the footsteps of guards coming to help. These were purposeful hunting. 3 figures emerged from the smoke. They wore armor, but it was not Valerian armor. They carried weapons designed to kill. These were the saboteurs, and they had come to finish what their bombs had started. Jinho looked at Princess Nari, at her frightened but trusting eyes. He thought about his small cabin, his dreams of going home, his quiet life. Then he stepped in front of her, putting his body between the princess and the assassins. Run, he told the guards. Get her out of here. I'll buy you time. You'll die, one guard said. Jinho smiled sadly. I'm just a human. She's a princess. Go. The guards hesitated for only a second. Then they grabbed Princess Nari and ran. She looked back at Jinho, reaching for him, but the guards were too strong. They disappeared into the smoke. Jinho turned to face the assassins. He had no weapon, no armor, no training, but he had made his choice. He would hold them here as long as he could. The first assassin raised his weapon. Jinho closed his eyes and thought of home. Jinho did not remember the explosion. He did not remember the pain, or the guards finding him, or the emergency medical team pulling his broken body from the wreckage. His first memory was waking up to bright lights and the soft hum of machines. His whole body hurt. It was a deep, aching pain that seemed to come from inside his bones. He tried to move but found that he could not. Panic flooded through him. Was he paralyzed? Was he dying? "Please remain calm," a soft voice spoke near his ear. "Your body is healing. Movement will return soon." Jinho forced his eyes to open. Everything was blurry at first. Slowly, shapes became clearer. He was in a white room filled with advanced medical equipment. A Valerian doctor stood beside his bed, checking displays that showed information about his body. Where am I?" Jinho's voice was rough and painful. "You are in the Royal Medical Wing. You have been unconscious for 5 days." The doctor touched a control panel and Jinho felt some of the pain ease. "You sustained severe injuries. Broken bones, internal damage, radiation exposure. By all logic, you should be dead. The princess? Princess Nari is safe thanks to you. She has been here every day waiting for you to wake. I will inform her immediately." Before Jinho could respond, the doctor left the room. Jinho lay there trying to process what had happened. He remembered the assassins, remembered choosing to stay behind. He remembered the weapon firing. Everything after that was darkness. The door opened again. Princess Nari entered and Jinho was shocked by how different she looked. She was not wearing her formal dress. Instead, she wore simple clothes and her hair was pulled back in a practical style. Her face was tired with dark circles under her glowing eyes, but when she saw Jinho awake, her face lit up with joy. "You're awake! Oh, thank the stars you're awake!" She rushed to his bedside and took his hand. Her skin was cool against his. "I was so worried. The doctor said you might never wake up. I'm sorry, Your Highness. I didn't mean to cause trouble." Jinho did not know what else to say. Nari laughed, but it was a sound close to tears. "Cause trouble? Jinho, you saved my life. You saved everyone in the royal section, and when assassins came for me, you faced them with no weapon, no armor, nothing. You are the bravest person I have ever met. I just did what anyone would do." "No, that is where you are wrong. No one else did what you did. Not my guards, not my advisors, not anyone. You were just a maintenance worker and you risked everything." She squeezed his hand gently. "The explosions destroyed a third of the royal section. 50 people died. Without your warning, hundreds would have died. Including me?" Jinho felt tears in his eyes. 50 people. He had tried so hard, but he had not been fast enough. "I should have done more. I should have found a way to make them listen sooner. You did everything you could, more than anyone had the right to expect." Nari stood up. "Rest now. We will talk more later." Over the next few days, Jinho learned what had happened. The assassins had been part of a conspiracy within the Valerian court. They were working with an enemy empire called the Kresh Coalition. The goal had been to kill Princess Nari and destabilize the Valerian Empire. The conspirators had been caught, but the leader was still unknown. Jinho also learned what the doctors had done to save his life. The explosion had damaged his body so severely that normal treatment would not work. They had used Valerian biotechnology to repair him. Parts of his body now contained artificial organs and enhanced systems. He was stronger than before, could see better, could heal faster. He was no longer entirely human. When he was finally able to walk again, a guard came to escort him. "Queen Mirai wishes to see you," the guard said. His tone was respectful now, very different from how guards had treated Jinho before. Queen Mirai was everything Jinho had imagined and more. She sat on a throne in a chamber decorated with crystals that sparkled like stars. She was tall and imposing, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see right through him. Power radiated from her like heat from a fire. Jinho bowed as low as he could, his new body still aching. "Rise, Jinho of Earth," the queen said. Her voice was deep and commanding. "You have done a great service to the Empire. You saved my daughter's life at the cost of your own safety. For this I grant you citizenship in the Valerian Empire and the title of Guardian. You are no longer a contract worker. You are now a member of the noble class." Jinho's mouth fell open. "Noble class? Him? Your Majesty, I don't deserve. I decide what you deserve, and I say you have earned this honor." Queen Mirai stood and walked down from her throne. Up close, she was even more intimidating. "However, there is something you must understand. The conspiracy is not over. We caught the assassins, but their leader escaped. My daughter is still in danger. Then you need better security. We have the best security in the galaxy, but security can be bribed or threatened. Security can have divided loyalties." The queen circled around Jinho, studying him. "But you, a human with nothing to gain, risked your life for my daughter. That kind of loyalty cannot be bought. Jinho began to understand where this was going. Your Majesty, what are you asking? I am asking you to stay with my daughter, to be her personal protector. You know this ship better than anyone. You think differently than we do. You see threats that we miss. Queen Mirai stopped in front of him. I am asking you to dedicate your life to keeping Princess Nari safe. I'm not a soldier. I'm just an engineer. You are more than that. You have proven it. The Queen's expression softened slightly. I will not force you, but I am asking you to consider it. My daughter has grown attached to you. She trusts you, and I trust you. That is rare for me. Jinho left the throne room with his mind spinning. A title, citizenship, a position as a royal protector. It was everything he had never wanted. He liked being ordinary, liked being invisible. This new life would be the opposite of that. Princess Nari found him that evening, sitting in a garden viewing platform that looked out at the stars. She sat beside him without asking permission, something that would have been unthinkable before. My mother spoke to you, she said. Yes, and you are thinking about running away. Jinho looked at her in surprise. She smiled. I can see it in your face. You want to finish your contract and go home to Earth. You want your simple life back. Is that so wrong? No, it is not wrong. Nari looked out at the stars. You did not ask for any of this. You just wanted to do your job and save money. Now you are a hero, and everyone expects you to be something you are not. They sat in silence for a while. Then Nari spoke again, her voice soft. I will not force you to stay. Neither will my mother, despite what she says. You have the right to choose your own path, but I hope you will stay. Not because I command it, but because I feel safe when you are near. Jinho felt his heart twist. He thought about Earth, about his dreams of a repair shop. But he also thought about Nari reaching for him as the guards pulled her away. He thought about her visiting him every day while he was unconscious. He thought about the conspiracy that was still out there waiting to strike again. I need time to think, he said finally. Of course, take all the time you need. Nari stood up to leave, then paused. Jinho, thank you. For everything. After she left, Jinho sat alone under the stars. He was no longer the person he had been a week ago. The explosion had changed him physically and in other ways. He could feel it. The question was, what kind of person would he become now? And what would he choose? The 3 days of training were brutal. The royal guards pushed Jinho harder than he had ever been pushed in his life. They taught him how to fight, how to shoot, how to spot threats in a crowd. His enhanced body helped, but his mind was still human, still prone to doubt and fear. Sora, the head of security, was his primary instructor. She did not like that a human was being given such an important position, but she was professional enough to do her job well. You will fail, she told him on the second day, after he had been knocked down for the 20th time during combat training. Not because you lack courage, but because you lack experience. When the real attack comes, you will freeze. You will hesitate. And the princess will die. Jinho pulled himself up, his body aching. Maybe. But I'd rather die trying than live knowing I didn't. Something changed in Sora's eyes, a hint of respect. Then let's make sure you survive long enough to be useful. The oath ceremony took place in the grand throne room. Every noble in the court was required to attend. Jinho stood before Queen Mirai, wearing new clothes that felt stiff and uncomfortable. The room was silent except for the sound of his own breathing. Queen Mirai held up a small device that glowed with blue light. This is a biolink. It will connect your life signs to Princess Nari's safety. If she is in danger, you will feel it. If she is in pain, you will sense it. This is the oath of a royal protector. Once taken, it cannot be undone. Do you accept this bond willingly? Jinho's throat was dry. This was his last chance to back out. But he looked at Nari, standing beside her mother's throne, and he knew he could not walk away. I accept. The device was placed against his chest. There was a sharp pain, then a warmth that spread through his body. He gasped as something changed inside him. He could feel Nari now, could sense her heartbeat like an echo of his own. The connection was strange and intimate, like nothing he had experienced before. Queen Mirai spoke the formal words of the oath. Jinho repeated them, his voice steady. When it was done, he was no longer just Jinho the engineer. He was Guardian Jinho, sworn protector of Princess Nari, bound to her for life. The nobles did not applaud. Many looked angry or disgusted, but Jinho did not care about their opinions anymore. He had made his choice. That night, as Jinho stood guard outside Nari's chambers, she came to the door. "You should be sleeping, Your Highness." "I cannot sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see the explosions, I hear the screams." She wrapped her arms around herself. "And I feel guilty. You gave up your freedom for me. You gave up everything. I made my choice. You don't have to feel guilty about it, but I do." She looked at him with sad eyes. "Is it strange that I'm glad you stayed? I know I shouldn't be happy about someone giving up their dreams, but I feel safer with you here." Jinho felt the biolink pulse gently. He could sense her emotions now. Her fear and sadness and relief all mixed together. It's not strange. We all want to feel safe. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Nari spoke again, her voice barely a whisper. "My mother thinks there is a traitor very close to us. Someone we see every day. Someone we trust. Do you have any suspicions?" "Too many. It could be anyone." She shuddered. "That is what makes it so terrifying. I cannot trust my own advisors, my own guards. The only person I fully trust is you, and you have only been in my life for a month." "Then we'll figure it out together," Jinho said. "We'll find whoever is behind this." Over the next few weeks, Jinho threw himself into the investigation. He used his knowledge of the ship's systems to track access logs and power usage. He studied every person who worked in the royal section, looking for patterns and inconsistencies. Princess Nari helped him, sharing her knowledge of court politics. She taught him how to read people, how to spot lies beneath polite words. They worked together, late into the night, and slowly, a picture began to emerge. The conspiracy was being coordinated by someone with access to the highest levels of security, someone who knew the Queen's schedule, the princess's movements, the guard rotations. The list of suspects was small but shocking. These were people who had served the royal family for years, people who were trusted completely. One name appeared more often than others in the suspicious activity logs: Lord Huan, the Queen's senior advisor. He had been with the royal family for 20 years. He was respected, trusted, almost like family. The idea that he could be a traitor seemed impossible, but Jinho had learned to trust evidence more than feelings. And the evidence pointed to Lord Huan. He brought his findings to Queen Mirai in a private meeting. The Queen listened in silence, her face becoming harder with each piece of evidence Jinho presented. "Are you certain?" she asked when he finished. "Not completely, but certain enough to warrant investigation." Queen Mirai was quiet for a long time. Then she stood and walked to a window that looked out at the stars. "Huan was there when my daughter was born. He advised me through 3 wars and countless crises. If he has betrayed me, it means I cannot trust my own judgment. Or it means he's a very good actor," Jinho said carefully. "The best traitors are the ones who seem most loyal." "What do you suggest?" "A trap. We feed him false information and see if it reaches the enemy." The trap was set carefully. Lord Huan was told that Princess Nari would be traveling to a nearby space station for a secret diplomatic meeting. The information was classified, shared with only a handful of people. If the conspirators acted on it, they would prove Huan's guilt. 3 days later, the space station was attacked by Kresh Coalition forces. They knew exactly where to strike, exactly when the princess was supposed to arrive. The trap had worked, except Princess Nari had never left the ship. She had been safe in her chambers the entire time. The attack had revealed the traitor, but also something more terrible. The Kresh Coalition was not just supporting the conspiracy, they were preparing for war. Lord Huan was arrested that night. When guards broke into his private quarters, they found encrypted communication devices and evidence of years of treason. He had been selling secrets to the Kresh, helping them prepare for an invasion of Valerian space. Jinho was there when they brought Huan before Queen Mirai. The old advisor did not deny his crimes, He looked at the queen with cold eyes. You are weak, Mirai. You waste resources on inferior species. You let humans and others pollute our pure empire. He spat the words with hatred. The creche will bring order. They will restore the natural hierarchy, and they will destroy you and your half-breed policies. Take him away, Queen Mirai said quietly. Her face showed no emotion, but Jinho could sense her pain through his connection to Nari. The princess was standing beside her mother, tears streaming down her face. After Huan was taken to prison, Jinho stood with Nari in the empty throne room. She was shaking, overwhelmed by the betrayal. He was like an uncle to me, she whispered. He taught me how to read ancient texts. He gave me my first book of poetry, and all this time, he wanted me dead. Jinho put a hand on her shoulder. Some people are very good at hiding what they really are. How do we trust anyone now? If Huan could betray us, anyone could. We don't give up. We keep fighting. We find the others who are working with him. But finding the others became difficult because events moved too fast. Intelligence reports showed that the Kresh Coalition was mobilizing its fleet. Ships were gathering at the border of Valerian space. War was coming, and it was coming soon. Queen Mirai called another emergency meeting. This time, military commanders filled the throne room along with nobles and advisors. The mood was tense. The Kresh will attack within a week, the Queen announced. They believe we are weak because of the conspiracy. They think they can conquer us quickly. Then we must prepare our defenses, a military commander said. We are already preparing. But there is a problem. Queen Mirai gestured to a holographic display showing the Valerian homeworld. The conspiracy weakened our planetary shields. Repairs will take months. If the Kresh attack now, our capital is vulnerable. The room erupted in worried voices. The capital held billions of Valerians, including the government, the royal family, and the military headquarters. If it fell, the empire would fall with it. Princess Nari stood up. Then we must evacuate. Take the government to a secure location. No, Queen Mirai said firmly. If we run, we show weakness. We make our stand here. Jinho listened to the debate with growing concern. He could sense Nari's fear through their biolink. She was trying to be brave, but she was terrified, and she had reason to be. The coming battle would determine the future of the entire empire. That night, Jinho found Nari standing on an observation deck watching the stars. She looked small and vulnerable, nothing like the confident princess she tried to be in public. We're going to die, aren't we? She said without looking at him. Maybe. Or maybe we'll survive and surprise everyone. That's very optimistic for someone who's usually so practical. Jinho smiled. I learned it from you. You never give up, even when things seem hopeless. Nari finally looked at him. Thank you, Jinho, for staying, for believing in us. Whatever happens in the coming battle, I'm glad you're here. The biolink pulsed warmly between them. Jinho realized that somewhere along the way, protecting Nari had stopped being just a duty. It had become something more, something he did not want to examine too closely. 3 weeks passed and Jinho still had not given Queen Mirai his answer. During that time, the ship had been repaired, and the investigation into the conspiracy continued. More traitors were found among the court officials. Each arrest made it clear that the plot ran deeper than anyone had imagined. Jinho spent his days recovering and learning. The royal doctors taught him about his new enhanced body. He was stronger now, faster, and his senses were sharper. But the enhancements came with a price. He needed special medication to prevent his body from rejecting the Valerian technology. He would need this medication for the rest of his life. Princess Nari visited him often. At first, she came with guards and maintained proper royal distance. But gradually, she became more relaxed. She would sit with him in the garden and talk about everything from politics to poetry. Jinho learned that she loved music and old books. She learned that he had grown up poor and had taught himself engineering by taking apart broken machines. They became friends, though Jinho tried hard not to think of it that way. She was a princess and he was, what was he now? Not quite human anymore, but not Valerian either. Something in between. One morning, Jinho was walking through one of the repaired corridors when alarms began blaring. Guards rushed past him, weapons drawn. He grabbed one guard's arm. "What's happening?" "Another attack. Someone is trying to breach the princess's private quarters." Jinho did not think. He ran. His new body carried him faster than should be possible. He reached Nari's quarters just as guards were pulling her out. She was safe, but her rooms were filled with smoke. A small explosive device had been planted in her bedroom. If she had been sleeping, she would have died. The head of security, a gruff Valerian named Sora, examined the device. Her face was grim. This was planted by someone with access to the royal section. Someone we trust. Queen Mireille arrived within minutes. Her face was cold with rage. This is the third attempt in 3 weeks. Each time the attacker has inside knowledge. Each time they get closer to my daughter. She turned to Sora. "Can you guarantee Nari's safety?" Sora hesitated. That hesitation was answer enough. The queen made a decision. She called an emergency meeting of her council. Jinho was surprised when he was ordered to attend. He stood at the back of the chamber, feeling out of place among the nobles and advisors. "We face an enemy within our own ranks," Queen Mireille announced. "Someone in this court is feeding information to the conspirators. Until we find them, my daughter is not safe." An elderly advisor spoke up. "Then we must increase security, double the guards, restrict access to the royal section." "We have already done that. It is not enough." The queen's eyes swept across the room. "The problem is not the number of guards. The problem is trust. Anyone can be bought or threatened. Anyone can betray us." Another advisor suggested sending Princess Nari away, hiding her on a distant world. The queen rejected that idea immediately. "My daughter is the heir to the throne. If she runs and hides, it shows weakness. Our enemies will say we are afraid." The debate went on for hours. No one could agree on a solution. Finally, Queen Mireille stood up. "I have made my decision. Jinho of Earth will become my daughter's personal protector. He will stay with her at all times. He will be responsible for her safety." The chamber erupted in protests. Nobles shouted that it was inappropriate. Advisors argued that a human could not be trusted with such responsibility. Guards insisted that one of them should have the honor. Queen Mireille let them shout. When they finally quieted down, she spoke again. "Every person in this room has ambitions. You want power, wealth, influence? You serve me because it benefits you. But this human, this maintenance worker with nothing to gain, threw himself between my daughter and assassins." He did not hesitate. He did not calculate the cost. He just acted. She pointed at Jinho. "That is the kind of person I need protecting my daughter." "But Your Majesty, he is not even trained." Sora protested. "Then train him. You have 3 days." The meeting ended. Jinho stood in shock as nobles filed out, many of them glaring at him with hatred. When the chamber was empty except for the Queen and Princess Nari, Jinho finally found his voice. "Your Majesty, I never agreed to this. I know, and I apologize for forcing your hand. But my daughter's life is at stake." Queen Mireille's hard expression softened slightly. "I am not just giving you a job, Jinho. In Valerian culture, a personal protector takes an oath that binds them for life. You would give up your freedom, your old dreams. You would belong to the royal family forever. That's slavery. No, it is duty. It is honor. It is sacrifice." The queen moved closer to him. "I am offering you something precious, Jinho. Purpose, meaning, a chance to matter. Most people never get that." Jinho looked at Princess Nari. She had been silent through all of this, but now she spoke. "Mother, please. Don't force him. If Jinho stays, it must be his choice." "The choice is his," Queen Mireille agreed. "But he must choose now. We do not have time for him to think about it for months." Jinho's mind raced. Everything was happening too fast. Just a month ago, he had been a simple worker. Now he was being asked to dedicate his entire life to protecting a princess. He would never go home. He would never have his repair shop. He would be trapped in a world of politics and danger forever. But he looked at Nari and remembered how she had visited him every day when he was injured. He remembered her kindness, her intelligence, her courage. He thought about the assassins who kept trying to kill her. If he walked away, would anyone else protect her the way he could? "I need to know something," Jinho said. "Why me, really? Is it just because I'm too stupid to betray you? Because I have nothing to lose?" Queen Mireille smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "Partially. but also because you are human. Humans are not like other species. You adapt. You think in ways we do not. You see solutions we miss. That makes you valuable. And if I say no, then you say no. I will give you a ship and enough money to return to Earth comfortably. You will never have to think about us again." The Queen's expression became serious. "But I will tell you this. Without you, my daughter will probably die. The conspiracy is too deep. There are too many traitors. Eventually, one of them will succeed." It was blackmail, Jinho realized. Not explicit, but clear enough. The Queen was putting Nari's death on his conscience if he left. Princess Nari must have seen his face because she stepped forward. "Stop it, Mother. You are manipulating him." She turned to Jinho. "You owe us nothing. You saved my life once. That is enough. If you want to go home, go home. I will not blame you." Jinho looked between the two women, the powerful queen and the kind princess. He thought about duty and freedom. He thought about the life he had planned and the life he was being offered. Neither was perfect. Both had a cost. Then he thought about something his father had told him when he was young. "Son, sometimes the right choice is the hard choice, and sometimes the hard choice finds you whether you want it or not." This was his hard choice. "I want certain conditions," Jinho said slowly. "If I do this, I do it my way. I'm not just another guard who follows orders. I use my own judgment, my own methods." Queen Mirai considered this. "Agreed, but you will still answer to me. And I want your promise that you won't use me as a political tool. I'm not a symbol. I'm not a trophy to show off. That I cannot promise. Everything in court is political, but I will minimize it where possible." Jinho took a deep breath. "Then I accept. I will be Princess Nari's protector." The words felt heavy as he spoke them, like chains settling around his shoulders, but they also felt right, in a way he did not fully understand. Princess Nari's face showed relief and joy, but also sadness. She understood what he was giving up. Queen Mirai nodded with satisfaction. "Good. The oath ceremony will be in 3 days. Until then, you will train with the royal guards. Learn everything you can." As Jinho left the chamber, he wondered if he had just made the best decision of his life or the worst. Time would tell. War was coming, and Jinho would face it beside the princess he had sworn to protect, no matter the cost. The Kresh fleet arrived 6 days later, appearing at the edge of Valerian space like a storm of metal and fire. Their ships were dark and angular, built for destruction. Intelligence counted over 300 warships, more than twice what the Valerians had positioned to defend their homeworld. Jinho stood in the command center beside Princess Nari, watching the tactical displays. Queen Mirai was coordinating the defense from the palace, her face stern on the communication screens. The mood was grim. Everyone knew the odds were bad. "They will hit the planetary shields first," a military commander explained. "Once those fall, they will target the capital. The palace will be one of their primary objectives." "How long can the shields hold?" Nari asked. "With full power, perhaps 12 hours. But the sabotage damage reduces that to 6 hours at most." 6 hours. Jinho did his calculations. The Valerian reinforcements were at least 10 hours away. The defenders would have to hold against overwhelming force with no hope of help arriving in time. Queen Mirai made her announcement to the Empire. Her voice was broadcast across every world, every ship, every station in Valerian space. She spoke of courage, of duty, of refusing to bow to tyrants. She promised that the Empire would not fall, even if she herself fell defending it. Jinho watched Nari's face as she listened to her mother. The princess was crying silently, but her expression was determined. She knew what was coming. The battle began at dawn. The Kresh fleet attacked in waves, their weapons tearing at the planetary shields. The Valerian defense fleet fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The beautiful morning sky became a graveyard. By midday, the shields were failing. The palace went into lockdown. Emergency protocols demanded that Princess Nari be evacuated immediately. A transport ship was prepared, fueled, and waiting. Nari refused to board. "I will not run while my mother fights," she said firmly. "I will not abandon my people." The guards argued with her. The advisors begged her, but she would not change her mind. Finally, they turned to Jinho, hoping he could convince her. Jinho looked at Nari through their biolink. He could feel her determination, her fear, her love for her people. She had made her choice just as he had made his. The princess stays, Jinho said. If she goes, I go. If she fights, I fight. The commander in charge of the evacuation looked frustrated. You're supposed to protect her. That means getting her to safety. Safety isn't always about running away, Jinho replied. Sometimes it's about standing your ground. The shields fell at hour 5. Kresh ships entered the atmosphere, their weapons targeting military installations and government buildings. The palace defense systems activated, firing at the incoming ships. But there were too many. Queen Mirai moved to the palace bunker, a fortified structure deep underground. She ordered everyone not essential to defense to evacuate the palace. Many people fled, but many also chose to stay and fight. Jinho armed himself with a rifle and body armor. His enhanced body gave him advantages, but he was still just one person. He positioned himself at the entrance to the royal family's private wing, the last line of defense before someone could reach Nari. The first Kresh soldiers breached the palace within an hour. Jinho heard the fighting coming closer, heard the explosions and the screams. The palace guards were brave, but the Kresh were ruthless and well-trained. Then Jinho saw something that made his blood run cold. Among the attackers were not just Kresh soldiers. There were also Valerian traitors, former guards and soldiers who had turned against their own people. The conspiracy had run even deeper than anyone realized. The fighting reached the royal wing. Jinho took position behind a barrier and opened fire. His enhanced reflexes helped him aim true. Enemy soldiers fell, but more kept coming. They had explosive charges meant to blow through the reinforced doors. Jinho, Nari's voice came through his communication device. Fall back! Come to the bunker. Not yet. They haven't gotten through. They will. Please don't die for a door. Jinho smiled grimly. I'm not dying for a door. I'm buying time. He held his position for another 30 minutes. His rifle overheated. His armor was damaged by near misses. He was running out of ammunition and options. But he had delayed the enemy long enough for reinforcements to arrive. Sora and a squad of royal guards came from the bunker. They established a new defensive line. Sora looked at Jinho with something like respect. You should be dead, she said. Yeah, I probably should be. Humans are stubborn that way. They fell back together toward the bunker. The fighting was intense. Jinho's enhanced body was pushed to its limits. He was faster than normal humans, but the Kresh were augmented too. One of them caught him with a blade, cutting deep into his side. He kept fighting through the pain. They reached the bunker entrance. Queen Mirai was there directing the defense. Her presence inspired courage in everyone around her. But even she looked worried. The situation was desperate. Mother, Princess Nari ran to the queen. You need to evacuate. If you stay here, you'll die. If I leave, the defense collapses. Everyone needs to see that their queen fights alongside them. Mirai looked at her daughter with sad eyes. But you must leave, Nari. The Empire needs an heir. If both of us die today, everything falls apart. I won't leave you. You will. That is a royal command. Jinho felt the pain in Nari's heart through their biolink. She was being torn apart by duty and love. She wanted to stay with her mother, but she also understood the logic. The Empire needed to survive, even if the current generation did not. Then everything changed. A massive explosion rocked the palace. The ceiling of the corridor outside the bunker collapsed. Dust and smoke filled the air. When it cleared, Jinho saw that they were cut off from the main bunker. Only a small group remained with the queen, including Jinho, Nari, Sora, and a handful of guards, and the enemy was coming. We need to move, Sora said urgently. There's a secondary exit that leads to the underground transport system. That exit is 200 meters away, one guard said. We'll never make it through enemy territory. Then we'll have to fight our way through, Queen Mirai said calmly. She picked up a weapon herself. Nari, stay in the center. Jinho, you stay with her. The rest of us will clear the path. They moved as a tight unit through the damaged palace. The fighting was everywhere now. The crash had taken over most of the building. Jinho and the guards had to fight through multiple enemy positions. Queen Mirai fought like a warrior, not a politician. She moved with precision and grace, her weapon never missing. Jinho understood why she was respected and feared. She was not just a ruler. She was a force of nature. But even forces of nature can be overwhelmed. They were halfway to the exit when they ran into a trap. A large group of Kresh soldiers had been waiting in ambush. The fighting was brutal and close. One by one, the guards fell. Sora took a blast to the chest. She went down hard but managed to take 3 enemies with her before she died. Her last words were, "Protect the princess." They were down to just 4 people now. Queen Mirai, Princess Nari, 1 remaining guard, and Jinho. The exit was close, just 50 meters away. But between them and safety were at least 20 enemy soldiers. Queen Mirai looked at the situation and made a decision. "Jinho, take my daughter and run." "I will hold them here at Mother." "No," Nari screamed. "This is not a request. This is a queen's final command." Mirai looked at Jinho with fierce eyes. "You swore an oath to protect my daughter. Fulfill that oath. Get her to safety." Jinho understood what the queen was asking. She was sacrificing herself so Nari could escape. It was the duty of a mother and a ruler. But accepting it meant leaving her to die. Through the bio-link, Jinho felt Nari's anguish. She was breaking apart inside, being forced to choose between her mother and her duty to the Empire. "I can't leave her," Nari whispered to Jinho. "I can't. You have to," Jinho said gently. "She's giving us a chance. We can't waste it." Queen Mirai smiled at her daughter one last time. "I love you, Nari. Be the queen I know you can be. Be better than me. Be kinder, wiser, stronger. And remember that love is not weakness. It is the greatest strength of all." Then she turned and charged at the enemy, the remaining guard following her. Their weapons blazed. Enemies fell. The queen fought with the fury of someone who had nothing left to lose and everything to protect. Jinho grabbed Nari and ran. She was crying, screaming for her mother, but he did not stop. He could not stop. His oath demanded that he save her no matter the cost. They reached the exit. Behind them, the sounds of fighting suddenly stopped. Queen Mirai was dead. The greatest ruler the Valerian Empire had known in generations had fallen defending her daughter. Jinho felt the moment through his bio-link to Nari. Her grief hit like a physical blow. She collapsed in his arms, her body shaking with sobs. But they could not stop to mourn. Enemy soldiers were already pursuing them. Jinho carried Nari through the underground tunnels, running on adrenaline and determination. His wounded side screamed with pain, but he ignored it. They reached the transport system and found a small emergency vehicle. Jinho managed to start it, and they took off, racing through the underground passages toward the outskirts of the city. Behind them, the palace exploded. The Kresh had set charges to destroy it complete. The emergency vehicle broke down 30 kilometers from the city. Jinho and Nari had to continue on foot, moving through the ruins of what had been a beautiful residential area. The Kresh bombardment had destroyed everything. Fires burned in the distance. The sky was dark with smoke. Nari had stopped crying. Her face was empty now, shock replacing grief. Jinho worried about her, but he had to focus on keeping them alive. The wound in his side was bleeding badly. His enhanced body could only do so much. He was running on borrowed time. They found shelter in the basement of a collapsed building. Jinho collapsed against a wall, breathing hard. His vision was starting to blur. The bio-link between him and Nari pulsed weakly. "Jinho?" Nari knelt beside him, her voice panicked. "You're hurt badly. We need to find help." "No help." "Out here," he managed. "Kresh. Control everything." "Then what do we do?" "We wait. Reinforcements." "They're coming." Jinho coughed and blood came up. "Just need to survive until then." But Jinho was not sure he would survive. He could feel his body failing. The enhancements were keeping him alive, but they were struggling against the damage. He needed proper medical care, and he needed it soon. Nari tore strips from her dress and tried to bandage his wound. Her hands were shaking, but she worked carefully. "Don't you dare die on me, Jinho. I just lost my mother." "I can't lose you too. Sorry. Your Highness. Not planning to die. Just need to rest." He closed his eyes for what felt like a moment. When he opened them again, light was streaming through cracks in the ceiling. A full day had passed. Nari was sitting beside him, her hand holding his. She looked exhausted. "You're awake," she said with relief. "I thought you might not wake up." Jinho tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his entire body. "What happened? Are we safe?" "For now. I've been monitoring communications. The Valerian reinforcements arrived this morning. The Kresh fleet is retreating." "We won, Jinho. We survived, won." The word felt hollow. Yes, the Kresh had been driven off. But at what cost? The capital was in ruins. The queen was dead. Thousands of people had died. This did not feel like victory. Over the next few hours, rescue teams found them. Medical personnel rushed to treat Jinho's wounds. He was taken to a field hospital, where doctors worked frantically to save his life. His enhanced body had kept him alive long enough to be rescued, but the damage was severe. Princess Nari, now Queen Nari, stayed by his side through it all. She refused to leave even when advisors came with urgent matters. Her mother was dead, the Empire was in chaos, but she would not abandon Jinho. "The Empire needs you," Jinho told her weakly. "You should go. Do your duty." "My duty is here," she said firmly. "You saved my life again, Jinho. You carried me when I could not walk. You protected me when I had lost everything. Now it is my turn to protect you." The doctors worked for hours. Finally, the chief medical officer came to speak with Queen Nari. His face was grave. "Your Majesty, the human's injuries are too severe. His enhanced organs are failing. Even with our best technology, we cannot save him." "I am sorry," Nari's face went pale. "No, there must be something you can do. There is one option, but it is forbidden. The ancient bioregeneration technology that was used on the royal family in the old times. It could rebuild his body completely. But the law forbids its use on non-royalty. The process is too dangerous, too unpredictable. Then change the law. I am queen now. I make the laws." The doctor hesitated. "Your Majesty, even if you authorize it, the procedure will change him. He will no longer be fully human. The technology bonds with DNA at a fundamental level. It will make him part of the royal bloodline itself. Such a thing has never been done before. I don't care. Do it." The procedure took 3 days. Jinho drifted in and out of consciousness, aware of pain and strange sensations as his body was rebuilt at a molecular level. Ancient Valerian technology, preserved for thousands of years, worked its way through his cells, rewriting his genetic code. When he finally woke, he felt different. His body was strong again, but it was not his old body. He could sense things he had never sensed before. His connection to Nari through the biolink was stronger, deeper, and there was something else, something he could not quite name. Queen Nari was there when he opened his eyes. She looked tired but relieved. "Welcome back. What did you do to me?" Jinho's voice sounded strange to his own ears. "I saved you, just as you saved me." She took his hand. "But there are consequences. The technology bonded you to the royal bloodline permanently. You are connected to me now in ways that go beyond the oath. You will live as long as I live. You will age as slowly as I age. You are bound to me forever, Jinho. Forever." The word echoed in his mind. He had agreed to dedicate his life to protecting Nari, but this was different. This was literal biological bonding. He would never be free of her. He would never be fully human again. "Are you angry?" Nari asked quietly. Jinho thought about it. He should be angry. His choices had been taken away. He had been changed without his consent. But when he looked at Nari, he found he could not be angry. She had done what she thought was right. She had saved his life just as he had saved hers. "No," he said. "I'm not angry, just adjusting." Over the next few weeks, Jinho recovered while Nari worked to rebuild the empire. She was crowned as the new queen in a small ceremony. There was no time for grand celebrations. The empire was damaged and vulnerable. The creche had been driven off, but they would return. And there were still traitors within the empire to root out. Jinho resumed his duties as her protector. But things were different now. The nobles who had opposed his appointment before were quieter now. He had proven himself in battle. He had saved their queen when everyone else had failed. And the fact that he was now bonded to the royal bloodline gave him a status that could not be questioned. One evening, 3 months after the battle, Queen Nari summoned Jinho to her private chambers. He came immediately, worried that something was wrong. But when he arrived, she was simply sitting by a window looking at the stars. "Sit with me," she said. Jinho sat. They were silent for a while, just two people who had survived impossible things together. Finally, Nari spoke. "I have been thinking about the future, about what comes next for the Empire, about what comes next for me, Your Majesty. Stop calling me that when we are alone. You have earned the right to use my name." She turned to look at him. "Jinho, the nobles are pressuring me to marry. They say the Empire needs stability, needs an heir. They have presented me with dozens of suitable candidates from noble families." Jinho felt something twist in his chest. The biolink carried emotions both ways now. He could feel Nari's uncertainty, her conflict. "That makes sense. You need to secure the succession. But I do not want to marry a noble who sees me as a political opportunity. I do not want someone who bows and speaks pretty words while plotting behind my back." Her voice was soft. I want someone I can trust, someone who has proven their loyalty beyond any doubt, someone who understands me. Jinho's heart began to beat faster. He understood what she was saying, but he could not quite believe it. Nari, what are you asking? I am asking if you would consider marrying me. Not because I command it, but because I love you, Jinho. Somewhere between you saving my life and me saving yours, I fell in love with you. The world seemed to stop. Jinho stared at her, his mind racing. She loved him. The Queen of the Valerian Empire loved him. A human who had been a simple maintenance worker just months ago. I'm nobody, he said finally. I'm not noble. I'm not even fully human anymore. I don't know how to be a consort to a queen. You are not nobody. You are the man who faced death to save me. You are the person who stayed loyal when everyone else betrayed me. You are brave and kind and honest. Those are the qualities I need in a partner. She reached out and took his hand. I am not ordering you. I am asking you. Will you marry me? Jinho thought about everything that had happened. He had come to this ship to make money and go home. But fate had other plans. He had been changed, literally and figuratively. He was no longer the person he had been. And maybe that was okay. Maybe this new person could be happy in this new life. He thought about his father's words. The hard choice finds you whether you want it or not. This was another hard choice. But looking at Nari, feeling her hope and fear through their biolink, he realized it was not hard at all. Yes, he said, I will marry you. Nari smiled, and it was like the sun coming out after a storm. She leaned forward and kissed him, and Jinho felt the biolink pulse with shared joy. The wedding took place 3 months later. It was a grand ceremony that brought together species from across the galaxy. Humans came from Earth to see one of their own become a prince consort to an alien queen. Other species watched in fascination. The Valerian nobles who had once looked down on humans now had to bow to one. Jinho stood beside Nari during the ceremony, wearing formal clothes that still felt strange on him. But when he looked at her, when he felt their connection through the biolink, everything else faded away. This was his life now. This was his choice, and he was at peace with it. 5 years passed. The Empire healed from the war. The Kresh signed a peace treaty after discovering that attacking the Valerians was more costly than they